to welcome on her guest, I'd like to introduce our chair, Marianne Halford, to the stage. So please put your hands together and welcome Marianne.
So, Shaun, you are part of a very large, independent production and content distribution business.
Correct.
And where do you sit actually within your organization?
Yeah, well, so my remit is to oversee all of our digital commercial activities, and I sit within Banijay Rights, which is the sales arm of the Banijay production company. So for those that aren't aware, of course, Banijay is a global powerhouse in the media entertainment space with a catalogue size now of over 185,000 hours of content. And we have production companies all across the globe, in-house over 130 production companies, and of course we represent some of the most recognizable IP which has traveled far and wide. So within terms of Banijay Rights, of course, we're focused very much on our finished tape and format sales, but as a part of the wider ecosystem and distribution strategy that we offer to our IP owners, I oversee all of our incremental activities, and that could predominantly be focused across our fast channel distribution and monetization, as well as also our AVOD and SVOD self-publishing on platforms, such as Amazon Prime, perhaps, overseeing our social media monetization efforts as well on platforms such as YouTube and Facebook, as well as also monitoring for any pirated content that obviously might infringe our IP. So quite a broad range of exploitation areas to oversee, but in terms of the size of the team and so forth, we have a team of 20, which is part of the wider Banijay Rights team, of course, close to 140.
Okay. And when was the first channel that you launched, and what was it again?
So in terms of our fast channel presence, we've been in the space since 2019. So we were one of the first to really take a view on how do we enter the market. So we're early adopters, and we launched with a single IP-led fast channel, which was Deal or No Deal. And that fast channel went live predominantly in the United States and has been live ever since. We're very, very proud of our slate now, which has grown quite considerably. But yes, we started the journey with Deal or No Deal as our first fast channel.
And were you, amongst your competitor set, were you one of the first to actually launch this initiative?
We like to think we were up there with,
Okay.
of course, being pioneers in the space. But again, when we take in a view on our strategy of fast channel distribution, it's exactly that. It's think about how can we get incremental audiences to our existing formats. And when we think about delving in further to our strategy around distribution, fast channels are representing, a portion of our back catalogue.
Right.
And when we've got a size now of 185,000 hours, we're thinking about how can we build out fast channels either dedicated to our single IP or a curated aggregation.
You said you started in the United States. How many countries are you in now today?
It's a fair point. We have launched now into 12 different territories. To set the scene, we started with one fast channel. We have our 28th going live tomorrow. So we're incredibly proud and happy with all of our fast channels, and they're a true mix of either being single IP-led focus, so 70% of our fast channels are single IP-led focus, and that could be a channel dedicated to a particular show within our catalogue. Or again, it could be the other 30%, which are focused particularly on genre or theme or production country in that instance. So we're live in 12 different territories so far, and plans to expand into further 10 territories later this year as well.
In plotting out your geographic expansion efforts, how determinative is the success of your content sales team in those markets?
Significant. Our strategy really does tie into, we will launch fast channels based upon the data that we have in terms of our first or second window or third window sales, and suggesting that if there is an active audience looking for perhaps either ancillary viewing or an audience that is going to have enough recognition when going into an EPG to find a channel that they may particularly want to watch, and for the first time get attracted to a channel such as Deal or No Deal or MasterChef or so forth, we're really leveraging those formats that have either traveled directly into the territory and have had commissioned broadcasts, or they have enough format exposure already in the sense of, Deal or No Deal has been traveling across the globe for many, many years, and here in the UK, it's a natural fit to take Deal or No Deal, the US fast channel that we have, and obviously publish it as well here and carry it here in the territory.
And the success of Deal or No Deal has been actually interesting in terms of being somewhat impactful or helpful to the overall content sales efforts. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what's happened in the United States?
No, I think again, absolutely. So when we leverage our fast channels, it's complementary to our finished tape and format sales business, and we certainly wouldn't be launching a fast channel to cannibalize any of those first window runs. And that's a mantra that we have right now, is we don't program any first window titles on our fast channels currently. We're talking through our back catalogue. But in the sense of, where we've gone and what we're planning to do, particularly in the US, it's about collecting that data. And we can say if a show has been, if one of our shows is currently decommissioned, but we're actually still active with the formats in other various incremental ways of distribution. That could be AVOD publishing onto Pluto, Tubi, Roku. It could be then obviously letting ourselves into the fast channel space. We're by default increasing awareness and exposure for a format which may be currently off air. So it's very useful data points for us as a distributor to take out to commissioning broadcasters to suggest that, of course, we may have already built up an active audience base who may want to see the channel, of course, in that fashion, but then a broadcaster may want to think about an active recommission. So it's an element of this is a really nice dovetail to suggest you can build an audience and then take data, of course, as part of your production pitch.
Now, you talk a lot about data. You distribute these channels to a lot of different platforms, and each of the platforms, as I understand it, have different ways of reporting data. How do you wind up going through that minefield, if you will, to try to come up with accurate data that can help inform decisions at Banijay?
I think data has been discussed in many, many ways on these sort of panels and in the landscape into perspective. To set the scene, we have, of course, our 28th fast channel going live tomorrow. But we have
which one is that?
It's going to be another single IP-led channel dedicated to one of our fantastic trucking formats, which is Highway Through Hell, fantastically produced Canadian long-running series. So, of course, ice truckers at its finest, and we'll go live this tomorrow here in the UK. So, truly, truly excited. But in essence of the data point, it can be a black box. We're at the mercy, of course, of what the platforms may give back, but what they do give back. And in terms of our strategy, we've got 28, but we've got 200, close to 200 different streams on various different platforms. So we're accumulating as much data as we possibly can get. And there are tools which obviously allow us from our facilitators to aggregate that data. But sometimes you just have to take a best interest in terms of what is the key metric that we're looking for. Of course, hours of viewing are very important for us. Any data on audience, of course, is helpful for us in terms of our programming scheduling, understanding key times of the day, which of course are most popular for our tent polling and our programming stunts to align. But we're only as good as what the platforms give us back. I would suggest that.
And what are you learning about the audience from the data? I mean, is it across the board in terms of ages, or is it veering more towards younger audiences?
Well, I think in the sense of what we're experiencing, again, we are at the mercy of the platforms deciding what their audiences are. We don't have an owned and operated app or service. So we're really dovetailing, of course, on those audiences that the manufacturers or the connected TV platforms have built out. Of course, our understanding, and this research that has been done several times to consider, particularly in the US, a lot of cord cutters are potentially, leveraging fast services or advertising-based content for exactly that. Perhaps they don't want to pay for a subscription. And in that instance, the data can suggest that perhaps audiences are skewing younger. But we're also in a very interesting proposition to try and, again, attract new audiences in different ways. So, one key point for us to explore further this year is how do we perhaps tap into underserved audiences? And some of those underserved audiences perhaps could be, in the US, the US Hispanic audience, which, may be crying out for more content. And in that instance, how can we take leverage one of our existing English language channels and invest in a localization to perhaps, give this as an offering which may not have once been the case on a traditional playout or traditional broadcast. So I would suggest in that instance, that's the level of differentiation we might be seeing between audiences on traditional broadcasters versus what we can delve into in the fast space.
Are you spending much time internally looking at what your OTA or broadcast or pay TV audiences are, or traditional, versus what you're doing on the fast side? And are there interesting maps that are coming together in that regard?
Of course, the research teams are collecting all the data that they get from their first-party data from the broadcasters versus then, of course, what we're seeing itself. There can, of course, be harmony and synergies. We are building out audiences really dedicated to fans of the show. For someone that wants to watch back-to-back episodes of Deal or No Deal, there's an understanding that they either, are hooked enough to want to watch the show continuously, or they've already got an existing presence. So it's fair to say that, in any instance, we're truly trying to build an audience which, if they are watching it from a traditional play-out perspective, that's brilliant. And, we see as well this, for example, here in the UK, we have some of the most recognizable formats as fast channels. MasterChef, for example, MasterChef UK has its own fast channel, and we're very proud that we're leveraging such an extensive back catalogue of MasterChef content, which then we're really, of course, leveraging any endpoints that we can to drive awareness to new series. And, MasterChef being a current active commission, it's a really nice play in as to how we can, mold the ecosystem and keep, obviously, engaged audiences.
Do you do any cross-promotion using the FAST to go to broadcast?
There's certainly the opportunity to do so. As distributors, in the way that, we're programming our fast channels, we're in control of all of our idents, our stings, our promo slots. And, whilst monetization could be really handled either by, your revenue share business models or advertising inventory splits, that's reserved for monetization, but you do have a lot of cross-pollination tactics that you can play into with regards to your programming strategy or your marketing strategies, both on and off platform. So it's a fantastic opportunity to work with those commissioning broadcasters. Of course, I truly appreciate, this is, again, a distribution arm. This is about rights retention. It's about working with your commissioning broadcasters to say whom has the ability to cross-promote and whatnot. But we would certainly, again, be looking to support where we can.
And I know you work with a number of different platforms in every market that you're in. Do you sometimes wind up tailoring your channels differently for one platform versus another platform?
I think it's an interesting point to raise, and it really comes again down to potential distribution and rights and retention. I think we see this more from a territory by territory perspective, where we want to deliver an experience that is, as best as it possibly could be for the audience. And we're a very hands-on and lean-in partner when we work with our platforms. And in essence, not only are we going to deliver you as much content as we possibly can in terms of playing out across the channel, but we're also going to be thinking about how we tailor certain programming stunts for the platforms. And that really is tying in back to the marketing teams' tentpole moments of the year. What are they looking for from the basic of what their Mother's Day, what their Valentine's Day, what their Christmas and their Easter strategies are? We'll try and offer as much content as possible to service those. But we're also delivering programming stunts which may be outside the box. You
Right.
know, they
Well,
could.
can you give us an example of one of them?
Well, I can absolutely go into perhaps, what we did with Deal or No Deal. We indexed the entire catalogue of Deal or No Deal to work out exactly from a contestant basis how much has been won on the show, who has entered the show, what is their job description, what is their lucky charm they brought on. And we're thinking about, okay, let's tie in as many different editorial hooks that we can to go and pitch. And this is as simple as we're going to go pitch these programming stunts to the platforms. And of course, they really appreciate it because we know the content better than the platforms themselves. So we've had, been able to lock in programming and marketing opportunities for 12 months of the year. But going back to your point around, how are we tailoring our approach platform by platform, we are thinking about this more from a territory by territory basis where as a global distributor, we may retain rights outside of commissioning territory. So this is a good example to suggest where Deal or No Deal in the United States has 5 previous seasons which have been commissioned, of which also we had 2 additional seasons which were played out for the Game Show Network. Now again, in rights and distribution, we may not have that opportunity to put those 2 seasons into territory, but we can offer them to audiences outside of territory. And Deal or No Deal as a channel has worked incredibly well across various English-speaking language territories, including Canada, the UK,
So
Australia,
you've taken
New
like the
Zealand.
American versions and brought them. That's an interesting
that.
way of doing distribution there.
To truly think about what we
Yep.
can offer, as a value added.
Now, in listening to a podcast where you were interviewed, you talked about the fact that one of the hallmarks of your FAST channels are the game shows. Why do you think that's the case?
It's a lean back view and experience that we're still deeming for the FAST channels across the EPG. I think we know that it's becoming harder, especially in more maturing markets, particularly the United States. It's harder to launch brand new FAST channels. Some of those FAST channels are at risk of being decommissioned or deactivated based upon new and potentially more exciting FAST channels entering the space. So what we've really tailored our approach on is leveraging IP that we know is going to offer an experience which can be lean in and lean out, in the sense of if you're going to an EPG and you see our Deal or No Deal or Fear Factor, Wipeout, MasterChef or Pointless game show based channel, you know that you can tune in. If you've recognized the IP, you know that you can tune in at any given stage and still really understand the payoff. Because the payoff typically from a game show perspective comes at the end of the show. It's a little bit different, of course, when you think about a scripted approach in terms of content, because typically you're going to want to watch the full episode, and sometimes you don't get the start over function on a fast channel service. You're going to have to really tune into the show at either a clock hour, or you're going to be thinking about, am I okay to tune into this episode halfway through and still understand? So our strategy really does, think about, okay, can we launch a fast channel? If so, yes. And is it compelling enough to be lean back? So that's why we've really delved into the game shows. For our scripted shows, again, we have a fantastic slate that we distribute and represent. But sometimes we think, okay, whilst we have the rights to do so, should we think about maybe an on-demand version of for distribution instead, so people can watch as a box set or step in and out as they choose.
Have you done that in several territories?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
We're very active in our self-publishing space. We've self-published over 50,000 hours of our catalogue itself in various different endpoints. So, yeah, we certainly take a view on what is the right content distribution mix for the content itself.
Now, you mentioned you also oversee social media. So how do you use social media as a way of extending or expanding or securing audience for your FAST networks?
We're very lucky to represent some of the most followed or subscribed to social media pages for some of our brands. So we represent the 4th biggest Facebook page in the world, which is actually Mr. Bean. For those that may not be familiar, over 140 million followers of our Mr. Bean Facebook page. So we are in a very strong position to leverage social media channels dedicated to our IP, which again in turn is music to our platform's ears in the sense of if they're cross-promoting from their social media channels, then we can do the same. So it forms a very nice marketing eco-mix where we can leverage audiences that, again, hey, may have watched a clip from one of our shows on social media, giving a bite-sized, mobile-first approach to content distribution, and then lending itself nicely to go and say, if you enjoyed this clip, of course, you can go and watch this show either on its commissioning broadcast run, for example, of course, here with the BBC with MasterChef, or you can go and watch a fast channel dedicated to this single IP on X, Y, and Z platforms. So it really is a complementary effort with not only an additional monetization revenue stream for our IP owners, but also for a marketing opportunity and cross-promotion ecosystem.
And what was the last channel that you launched?
So prior to Highway Through Hell, we actually, again, launched one of our fast channels dedicated to another factual-based show, which was Mythbusters, which, again, has had a fantastic run in most territories that, of course, has had traditional distribution in. And it's, again, a very compelling show where people are mesmerized by the discovering and the understanding and learning, which allows itself very nicely to take out to market into the fast space.
And then what's the process that you go through internally when you're thinking about Mythbusters? Like what's the business case or the business proposition you go to your senior executives to?
We have to think about the current life cycle of the show. Is it an active commission? If so, what are the deal structures with the commissioning broadcaster? Can we look at non-exclusive arrangements? Because we appreciate that in most cases on the fast channel distribution, those deals are structured in a non-exclusive way, particularly in markets such as the United States or so forth. We have looked at exclusive models, and we have got exclusive models in play from our fast channel distribution here in the UK, for example, which is all done on a very case-by-case basis. But the approach really is to look at the existing commissioning and understand, what are the rights opportunities, what is the scope of opportunity in terms of yield analysis. Does it make sense for our sales teams to go and relicense this content to an active commissioning broadcaster or streamer for a window of exclusivity? Or is it now time to think about, okay, we've reached a point in the distribution life cycle where now we might be able to enter from a yield return perspective into non-exclusive arrangements so we can have various distribution endpoints.
Well, we have 2 minutes left. I don't know if there are folks in the audience that might have some questions. Any questions out there?
2 minutes back, if not.
Okay, or no, I have more questions. You talked about your genre channels.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the decision-making process to deciding what genres you're going to go after?
Yeah, I mean, we're very proud of our genre channels, and we really specifically focusing on them territory by territory. So here in the UK, we launched a fast channel deemed Horizons, which is Horizons powered by Banijay. And the mantra of that channel is that it is a channel dedicated to our UK-produced shows. If we can build out a model where we've got enough rights and retained enough content to launch a locally centric fast channel dedicated to UK produced shows, that's what we're going to do. And when we think about this offering, we may not have enough content from the various production labels or various production strands or titles to warrant its own channel, because you need upwards of 150 to 250 hours of content to launch a single IP channel. If we don't have that opportunity, then can we launch an aggregated version of a fast channel? And we've done that. And it's allowed us to really play with programming and blocks and so forth. And of course, when we're thinking about these fast channels, we have to be very mindful as well for regulatory perspectives around pre-watershed, post-watershed content. And we've done that with fast channels such as Horizons, where it's an eclectic mix of daytime-friendly shows, scripted shows from post 9 p.m., stand-up comedy shows and so forth. So we've been very mindful of tailoring and making sure that when we launch aggregate channels, because ultimately the Horizons brand may not be resonant enough for the audiences now, but it will be the content that drives, of course, the awareness.
Well, I know we have to end, but I'm going to do a promo for you. Where can people in this audience find the Horizons channel? What platforms is it on here in the UK?
It's very kind of you, Marianne. Banijay remains platform agnostic, I must say, in terms of our deal structures, but you can go and, of course, watch on all of our major connected TV platforms, including Samsung TV Plus and LG channels.
Wonderful. Well, I hope they will all tune in. Thank you.
Thank you so much.